Hello everyone, my name is Tim Lazaro. I'm the author of this website, timlazaro.com, and I'm going to give you a summary of, well, actually, it's a whole bunch of short stories that I put together. It's the Earthquake Trunk and 16 other short stories. Now, these stories never did reach the short stories, they never did reach the novella stage, But the Earthquake Trunk is pretty close to that. It occupies quite a few pages. Now, the Earthquake Trunk concerns the 1906 earthquake, what they call the Great San Francisco Earthquake of 1906. Now, here is a gentleman, Ben Miller. He wakes up actually just a few minutes before he normally has to wake up to go to work. It's about 5:15 in the morning, and the whole house is trembling. He can't understand. He starts to hear his son cry. He's got a baby that's maybe like 6, 7 months old at that time, and the baby's crying because the whole place is being shook. And he wakes up and he doesn't know what's going on. He calls for his wife, and his wife isn't there. He calls for Marie, and she's not around. He can't figure what happened to Marie. What's going on? He's just totally confused. Next thing, he gets up and he's trying to take care of the baby, and he really doesn't have milk for the baby. I mean, he doesn't know if the baby's, what the problem is. So the next thing he does is next thing he hears a knock at the door, and it's a neighbor boy. This 10-year-old boy is knocking on the door and telling him that they're about ready to take off because they look down the street and they're seeing fires and they're afraid their house is going to get caught on fire. So what he does, he says, "Okay, all right, I'll be with you. I'll go with you people." And he keeps calling for his wife. His wife isn't around. He doesn't understand. But anyway, he goes down to the kitchen and he grabs a bunch of stuff off the table. He just swipes it off the table, throws it into this huge steamer trunk that he built. He's a carpenter. And other items, he just throws them in there, and a baby blanket, stuff for the baby, and he grabs the baby in one arm in the trunk. He grabs the handle of the trunk and he drags it out the door, and he looks down the street and the fires are starting all over the city. So the people next door are nice enough, they all go together, and he's asking the neighbor lady just what happened to his wife. "Have you seen my wife?" "No, she hasn't." And anyway, they go down the street, and eventually he's about ready to give up the trunk because carrying the baby in the trunk, and finally the neighbor boy takes the baby. Anyway, he's in a mess, and he's totally confused about what's going on. And his baby, his son is going to need milk. And I mean, at that time, the way they gave milk to a baby was through a woman's breast. And he just doesn't, the neighbor lady's not, she's too old to do that. And, it's a mess. He's in a big mess here. But anyway, he's got to get through this day along with thousands of other people. But fortunately, he comes up on these enterprising young men who are digging holes in the ground and burying trunks, because a lot of people have their goods in trunks or suitcases or whatever it might be, and they don't want to carry it anymore. So these men say, they ought to make him an offer. "Sir, we'll bury the trunk for you for $10, which is a lot of money in those days. But the thing is, and then after the fire goes through here, the trunk will be fine. You can come back and dig it up. I'll give you the address." So he takes the address, but somehow he loses the address and he gets his trunk buried. And he goes on his way with the family. He's carrying the baby now. It's a lot lighter load. But anyway, that's the beginning of the Earthquake Trunk. Much more happens. 40 years later, the trunk is dug up. You can imagine what this time capsule might hold. But anyway, that's one of the stories. There's other stories that hopefully are very captivating. I think it's a very good book to have by the bed at night so you can read short stories before you go to bed, because most stories are 3 or 4 pages long. So it's the Earthquake Trunk and 16 other short stories. It's by Tim Lazaro, that's me. And this is my website. I hope you enjoy my website. If you do, please leave comments. And you have a nice day now. Bye-bye.